What is up, guys? It's your boy, the Bladed Cactus, and today we've got some brand spanking new Destiny 2 news, courtesy of the Bungie weekly update that has just gone live, revealing official information. And so, let's get started. And first things first, of course, we need to go over what's been going on this week within Destiny 2 and some important information outside the TWAB, so you guys are as informed as possible. Now, in terms of in-game, well, the big thing was at the weekly reset, there was the finale to the weekly storyline quest, The Bladed Path. And unfortunately, a lot of people seem to be pretty disappointed by this finale. I don't want to get into spoilers within this video. I did do a separate video going over the new cutscene and stuff like that, so check that out if you want to. But essentially, some very, very cool stuff happened lore-wise outside of the cutscene. Like, some of the coolest things that were mentioned were in like the lore books and everywhere other than the cutscene where we would actually want to see it. In fact, here's Lord Daddy, as he's called, Bife's take on the situation. Now, he's replying to someone saying it's genuinely bizarre that the cutscene ends abruptly and then there's an entire missing scene that you gotta go read about in the lore book. And Bife says, this is a preview of the big issue of the end of season cutscene. Lots of good stuff led up to an abrupt end. The things that happened are partly resolved in a lore tab. They should have been displayed in the same cutscene. So that's kind of the complaint for a lot of people. Of course, Bungie doesn't have infinite resources to make super long cutscenes, but I do feel like this is an important issue. Like, if you write about super cool stuff that happens in the lore tabs and stuff like that, obviously people are going to want to actually see it happen within those cutscenes, especially when you do often produce very high quality cutscenes, as Bungie has been doing. Like, again, people want to experience those cool lore moments in those cutscenes. But moving on from there, guys, something else really big that happened is that Bungie kind of caused, frankly, an international incident. And that's all due to this tweet right here, with Bungie saying, being Latina EOX is more than just a location on the map, just as being Hispanic is more than the language we might speak. We are proud to introduce our newest idea, Latin at Bungie. And guys, this tweet absolutely blew up, and not in a good way. As of right now, it is sitting at over 23 million views on Twitter. What the heck happened? Well, it turns out people, and especially Latin people, were actually really offended by this tweet. Now, why? It's because Bungie used the term Latinx. Now, what is wrong with that? Well, I'm gonna let them explain it. Here's the streamer Blue Westlow giving a great explanation. After he originally quote tweeted this and said, "This is tight, but please don't entertain the term Latinx. I'd rather you just call me slurs like every other American corporation." And replying to someone asking why he's upset, he says, "The X is solely an English insertion and disregards Latino, often being used as a catch-all that isn't necessarily gendered. Just about every Hispanic person is cool with Latin/Latine, even to broadly refer to us, but Latinx is just kinda, that's not Spanish." And here's another explanation by Miss 5000 Watts, replying to a Bungie dev tweeting this out. She says, "Hey Bruno, we all super appreciate this, but could you remove the X please? It's viewed extremely negatively and feels like a hijacking of the language to fit modern English, which is quite offensive." And as you can see right here, guys, Bungie was just getting cooked in the replies. But do you notice something about this screenshot? If I scroll up to the top, yep, those are replies hidden by Bungie. So this really set things off, because Bungie uses, again, an offensive phrase according to so many different Latin people, and then they start hiding people's replies that were calling them out for this. So Bungie is trying to enhance Latin voices and then censors those very same voices. And as you can imagine, the result of this is, again, a storm of negativity, and just the fact that this tweet blew up to extremes. A massive YouTubers like Mudahar quote tweeted it, as you can see. The Actman quote tweeted it. Asmongold made an entire video on this. This just went, nuclear in terms of the backlash. And so that's where things stand right now. The tweet is still up. It was hit with a Twitter community notes, as you can see, and it's still getting dunked on, but Bungie has not offered any sort of statement or explanation on the situation. Perhaps they will within the TWAB. And overall, guys, my thoughts are, I don't think Bungie intended to piss off seemingly the entire Latin community. I think they were just trying to do something nice here. But who the heck is in charge of the Bungie PR department? Because it's just one disaster after another. This is coming off the heels of, I think a week or two ago, we just talked about how there was a weekend of trials where the servers were so bad, it was nigh unplayable, and Bungie tweets out, hey, send us your clips. And everyone just clowns on them and just replies with clips of them getting kicked out of games, and Bungie is so embarrassed they deleted the tweet. Like, who is deciding these things? A couple of Google searches would have told you that most Latin people are offended by the term Latinx. Like, who is making these decisions that Bungie is just causing themselves unnecessary strife over and over and over again because they're not thinking before they do these things? In any event, let's get on to the brand new information within the TWAB. And first off, we have a section from the economy team talking about how they're changing the costs associated with focusing exotic engrams. Basically, Bungie found that it was too expensive for the vast majority of people when it came to focusing exotic engrams, especially the tier 2 focusing where you're getting one particular exotic. Saying, to make a long story short, we saw that, except for folks who play Destiny 2 a whole heck of a lot, most weeks you all weren't earning more than a few Ascendant Shards a week, with players who only have a few hours to play maybe earning one. So here are the changes to the costs. Tier 1 focusing is going to cost 30,000 Glimmer and 10 Enhancement Prisms, and Tier 2 is going to cost 60,000 Glimmer and 2 Ascendant Alloys, and that's it. Honestly, this is pretty sick. Like, you're going to be able to target farm exotics way easier now, especially if you have something like double Nightfall drops and you have a Grandmaster you can do. It's not uncommon to earn 3 or even 4 Ascendant Shards for a single run of a Grandmaster during 2x rewards. So again, that is pretty sweet. Now moving on from there, guys, there's a section on the Deck of Whispers. They released a separate article talking about how they developed it. You can buy an IRL version of the deck, so if you're interested, check out the TWAB, which is linked in the description of this video. But after that, something a lot more interesting is the mid-season armor and weapons preview. So this new update 7.2.5 is going to be arriving pretty soon, I believe. And although Bungie fails to provide a specific date for its arrival, considering the exotic engram focusing changes are arriving on October 17th, there's a good chance these changes are implemented then as well. So, first of all, we have some changes to exotic armor, specifically the Antius Wards and the Young Ahamkara's Spine are getting nerfed for PvP reasons, and we did go over these changes in a different video, so they're up on screen if you want to pause and read those. But moving on from there, the brand new stuff is some weapon balancing. So first of all, for weapon archetypes, we have some changes to submachine guns. So we have their explanation here, and here are the changes. They're going to increase the recoil globally by 10%, and they reduced the mouse and keyboard stability bonus from 20% down to 10%. So after that, we have auto rifles, and the changes here are actually going to be impacting different damage archetypes in different ways. For the rapid fire auto rifles, they reduced the aim down sight's damage fall off scalar from 1.7 to 1.6. For adaptive auto rifles, they've reduced the ADS damage fall off scalar by the same value, and they've increased the base damage from 14.25 to 15, but they've decreased the critical hit multiplier from 1.6 to 1.55. So critical damage goes from 22.8 previously to 23.3. And that seems like a pretty minor change. However, if you're able to kill in one shot less, that is a big deal. Now, for precision auto rifles, they've reduced the ADS damage fall off scalar from 1.7 times to 1.6 times. And for the Amit AR4 specifically, they've reduced the zoom from 17 to 15. Now, after that, guys, we have some changes to pulse rifles. So in general, they've increased the damage falloff range at 0 stat by 1 meter, and for aggressive pulse rifles, they've increased the aim down sight's damage falloff scalar to 1.8x. And then we actually have a chart here where you have all these different weapons, the Season 21 base zoom, the Season 22 ADS damage falloff scalar, and then what this new mid-season update will do for ADS damage falloff scalar, as you can see right there. Then we also have another chart here, ADS damage falloff start distances 0 to 100 range stat, and you can see again like before, at Season 22 launch, and what the mid-season update is going to do. Now, moving on from there, we have fusion rifles. So they're going to reduce the minimum damage that fusion rifles can deal after damage falloff from 50% to 45%. For sniper rifles, in general, they've decreased the airborne accuracy penalty by 20%, so sniper rifles are now as accurate at base as they were pre-airborne effectiveness with an Icarus mod. And then after that, guys, for all 3 damage archetypes of snipers, aggressives, adaptives, and rapid fires, they've all decreased the body shot damage and then increased the critical hit multiplier to compensate for that change. It's just a little bit confusing to read because there's a formatting error. Now, moving on from there, guys, for shotguns in general, they've decreased the airborne accuracy penalty for precision slug shotguns by 20%. Slug shotguns are now as accurate at base as they were pre-airborne effectiveness with an Icarus mod. Bungie, if you keep reverting things to exactly how they were before airborne effectiveness, maybe airborne effectiveness wasn't the best idea. That's just my thought. Now, they've also decreased the airborne pellet spread penalty for pellet shotguns by 20%. Now moving on from there, for perks here, guys, the perfect float perk. Essentially, they've increased the base duration from 6 to 10 seconds, and they've increased the extended duration from 7 to 12 seconds. Then for Kickstart, it's catching a nerf. They've reduced the damage bonus from 20% down to 15%. Now, moving on from there, guys, for Checkmate, they say we will also have some minor tuning coming for Checkmate control, including increases to the score to win from 100 to 125 and decreasing the frequency of heavy ammo spawns from 90 to 180 seconds. Then there's a section on future stuff. So they say in Season 23, so next season, we will have a host of PvE tuning changes. We don't want to share too many specifics because some things still have the possibility of shifting during testing, but we can give you a sneak peek. So they've increased the base PvE damage for glaive projectiles and sniper rifles, okay. They've increased damage against minor combatants for pulse rifles and auto rifles, and they've greatly increased damage against champions for Revision 0 and Vex Mythoclast. To be honest, like, those weapons are already pretty decent, so that's actually pretty exciting. And lastly, they say, we're also very excited to finally get the glaive rework into your hands, including some changes we've made to the exotic class glaives to make them more effective and enjoyable to use. And so guys, that's going to wrap up everything you need to know about Destiny 2 this week. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it informative. If you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. If you want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickCacus, that is linked in the description down below. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.